All right, fans, here we go with the showdown you've all been waiting for. And now, ladies and gentlemen in attendance and boxing fans joining us around the world, live from Las Vegas, it is time for the main event of the evening, 12 rounds of boxing.
Welcome to another edition of the Will Be Blood Fight Show. I'm your host, JoNes. Let's talk about the keys of victory for two fighters that are going to be facing each other pretty soon. Roy Jones Jr. versus CalZaghe. Okay, let's talk about Roy Jones, the Superman out of Florida. Okay, let's talk about his keys and what he needs to do about facing and defeating the Doomsday of Wales, CalZaghe. First thing off is that Joe's maybe a little bit past his prime, but not completely. You know, and him moving up to heavyweight really affected his body, so when he came down and faced Antonio Tarver, it took a toll out of him, so it was allowed him to be vulnerable against Tarver and Glenn Johnson. But since then, you know what, we've really seen him reform back really quite well. Even though Trinidad was, you know, out of his weight limit and out of his prime, being retired for 3 years, Roy was still able to do some magic in the ring. You were able to see the speed, you were able to see the footwork, and you were really able to see the power that Roy still holds, okay? But in order for him to really take CalZaghe out of his game, he's got to discourage him. Not with just the pot shots, you know, but really be on top of him. Show him that he's the much bigger man. He's the more natural 175-pounder when they step into the ring and they face each other, okay? One thing that I like about Roy is that his reflexes are still there. You know, CalZaghe has the tendency of, you know, really throwing a lot of punches, but they could be a lot of arm punches, and that's where Jones can take advantage of that, okay? What he could do is he could sit back and allow CalZaghe just to throw these arm punches and then come over the top of him and catch him with a straight right, which Jones does really. He's actually really perfected for an orthodox fighter, okay? The thing about Jones is that he kind of throws it wherever he stands at, all right? What I mean by that, you know, he could be leaning, he could be leaning forward, he could be even pulling back. But Roy has a way of just leading that straight right, landing it, and being out of there by hard pivoting and going under his man, you know, so he'll be out of harm's way. That's the beauty about Roy Jones Jr. Okay, the other thing I like about Roy in this fight is the power factor. Roy's got a beautiful left hook to the body, left hook to the head. And really that works against lefties and stuff, you know. If Roy can just establish that a little early and take out the legs of CalZaghe, so it doesn't allow CalZaghe to have any aggressiveness towards him, then you'll see CalZaghe start walking back instead of walking forward. And that's something that Roy's got to work on right there too, you know, is by pressuring CalZaghe, the smaller man in this match, okay? In reality, he was the bigger man against Trinidad. He's going to be the bigger man against CalZaghe. This is really the second time CalZaghe's been at 175, okay? So Roy's been there pretty much his last of his career, he needs to show that he's the bigger man and really walk down CalZaghe. Don't let CalZaghe get in the rhythm, you know. These are two fighters that are very cocky. Once they get in the rhythm, they start becoming cocky. They'll showboat a little bit. They'll show that, you know what, I'm the better fighter. I'm the more gifted fighter. He can't allow CalZaghe to do this, okay? He's got to get CalZaghe out of rhythm before anything else. And how you do that? It's not just sticking by your pot shotting and waiting to counter. And his time, you know what, his timing is fantastic. But box him a little bit more than usual. You know what I mean? You know, jab to the stomach, jab back to the face, double up the left hook, throw the straight right, and hold him. Every time you think that he's going to throw a flurry of punches, hold him down, you know. Allow your weight to get on his body so it takes out his legs, and that's when you can catch him and probably knock him out. More likely you can knock him out, because if you take out Joe's legs, nothing's going to hold him up. And Joe has the tendency of having flash knockdowns. So you knocking him down early, it's not going to be a big plus for Roy, because Roy knows the game a lot better than most people, okay? He'll knock you down, but he doesn't really go after you for the kill after he knocks you down, because he understands that a hurt man is more dangerous than anything else when he gets back up. So watch Roy drop him and really just hold back and watch to see the telling of that knockdown, okay? Those are my keys for Roy Jones to win this fight. Now, for the man, the doomsday of Wales, Joe CalZaghe. His keys really are to just kind of be Joe CalZaghe. You know, throw a lot of flurries of punches, but maybe just change it up just a tad bit. And what I mean by doing that is that Joe can throw punches from every angle. He really throws every punch out of the textbooks when he catches you on the rope. But the thing is, though, with Roy likes to lean back and wait for you to finish, and he will counter on top. So what Joe's got to really do is keep him busy upstairs when he has him against the rope. Don't worry about the body. Don't worry about ripping up the uppercuts. Just worry about the head. Keep him up here so he keeps his hands up high. All right? And that also gives him points for the judges. It shows that he's the more aggressor, and he's the one doing the work up against the ropes, okay? The other thing that Joe's got to do is really kind of not press too much into the fight, okay? Because what Roy does is sit back, and he allows you to lead in so that when your balance is forward, he can counter shot, and it looks a lot more damaging than what it really would be, okay? So Joe's got to kind of just lean back and hold down. He's got to really fill out for maybe 1 to 3 to 4 rounds in order for him to catch his rhythm. So you're looking at it to being kind of a boring fight. But that's what Joe would want to do, is kind of drag it out to the 4th round, because that allows Jones to kind of get bored with the fight and just lean in. Okay, you want Jones to kind of be the more aggressor. Okay, this is a much older fighter, a much bigger guy and stuff. So let him kind of just expel his stamina just a little bit, right? And while he's doing that and he's making the mistakes, then you counter on his body. Then you rip him with uppercuts and stuff, you know. And those things right there, you know, Joe's got to time him perfect. You know, he's got to have superior timing against Roy Jones, because the thing is Roy's still very quick on his feet, regardless of him being a little bit out of his prime. He's still really quick, and he's got great reflexes. So he's got to time him in. And how you time him in is you allow him to throw a pot shot, and where he's going to hard pivot and try to move away, you cut that ring, and then you throw in your body shots, okay? And what that'll do is that will make Roy just walk back to the ropes and lean in, and that's when you get on top of him again, and you throw nothing but headshots, where it looks like, really, for Joe to knock out Jones, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see any keys for him really knocking him out and stuff, you know, because, you know, Jones is going to be really defensive mode on that night. But the way to beat Jones is for Joe, it's just to really just outpoint him. Throw a lot of flurries. Do not allow Jones to hold you, okay? And by doing that, when he's throwing up those flurries, he's got to make sure he's at least not a full arm's distance away from him, but pull back about 6 inches, okay? So it gives you enough time to pull back if he does open up to try to grab you or dip under, okay? And when he dips under, CalZaghe doesn't want to rip under. What he wants to do is take a step outside, either left or right, and then rip with body shots, okay? And those body shots are not going to be there if Roy's head goes down. Now, Roy's not really, he doesn't do a lot of that. So him doing that on that night, it might not happen. But if he keeps going to the head of those flurries, it might Roy would want to get out of the danger. Because regardless if they're just arm punches, they're nagging punches, and they can be annoying, okay? And that a lot of times will take a person out of their game. Those are my keys to victory. And before I go, I want to mention Kelly Palvic of Boxing Predictions. Log on to the show, check it out. The kid's great. You know, he's got some good boxing knowledge for being so young. Anyways, I'm your host, Dave JoNes, and I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Will Be Blood Fight Show.